Hello everyone and welcome back to New Comic Book Day here at Comic Vantage. And these are books that were released this week, and this week is the week of Wednesday, November 14th, 2018. So, this is where I pick some books to read for the day. I come back, give you a spoiler-filled review, and I gotta say there are some awesome spoilers coming up. So if you don't want spoilers, back out now, come back later, or just use the timestamps down below to skip the books you do not want spoiled. Alright, with that being said, let's get started. First book this week, Uncanny X-Men #1. This is the big book everybody's been waiting for this week. This is Uncanny #1, Legacy Numbering, issue number 620. Yes, Uncanny is getting up there. Wow, when I started reading these things, they were in like the high 200s. Ooh, God, I can't believe how many there have been. Anyway, so this is the relaunching of Uncanny X-Men. We start with our team being led by Jean Grey, having this incredibly weird dream about Multiple Man who is looking for Kitty Pryde. And then she's just in a giant melee with all of these Kitty Pryde, or with all these Multiple Men, Jamie Madrox's characters. And we skip to there having breakfast. This was kind of an odd story to begin with. I'm not sure how I liked it, which really makes me sad to say because X titles are what got me into comics, but lately they've seemed to be a little on the lackluster side. So here we have Kitty Pryde, who is taking the B team, which is like the X-Men trainees, consisting of, Pixie and Knoll and all these other weird characters, to go fight Forearm, and they're actually making jokes on how, we're fighting Forearm. Kitty Pryde's power goes incredibly bonkers, and she phases through the Blackbird, and it crashes. And then we skip forward over to Botswana, Africa, where Storm is hanging out with Beast, and there are some odd weather patterns going on that she cannot control. So the story does kind of pick up a little bit, because it starts going into almost has like a mystery sort of feel to it. You're trying to figure out what is happening. Here we have our B team again, and it turns out they are not fighting just Multiple Man, but the entire Mutant Liberation Army. That was actually kind of cool. It's good to see some of those characters come back. Old Rob Liefeld creations. So they get into a huge battle. They end up getting their butt kicked and have to call in the A-Team. Which I'm actually a little upset that I don't see Gabby in this. I guess she's not joining the Uncanny, which is kind of odd. I mean, Laura's here, front and center, but no Gabby. Oh well. I mean, I love Gabby. I'd love to see her in like everything. She's so awesome. And we skip over here to Manhattan, where there is a senator talking about how there is a cure going on. And that was the whole thing behind the Mutant Liberation Army. They were destroying a pharmaceutical company who supposedly had the cure to stop the X gene. Now, on the other hand, Kitty Pryde is also supposed to show up and speak on this. But she doesn't, which is a little on the strange side. Nobody has any idea where she's at after she phases through the Blackbird and just sort of disappears. Enter Multiple Man, who takes the stage, and he's just killing time for something, saying something is going to happen, and he's not explaining why or what. I see a lot of time travel happening here, because then his entire army of himself shows up, and they're like, we're here to help. We are Legion, for we are many. Archangel ends up speaking to someone in the sky. We have no idea who he's talking to, and he ends up missing. So, oh, this is kind of cool. Psylocke is back in her original body, so we get to see her exploring more of her kinetic abilities. Her telekinetic with her new weapons, the shield and the sword, and all that kind of groovy stuff. And, it's cool to see Cannonball, too. We haven't seen him in a while, and I really enjoy Cannonball as a character. Really, really interesting. Now, I just leave that right there. So, Kitty Pryde ends up in this weird facility with this senator who's talking about the cure, and apparently Apocalypse is also there, and he has been kidnapped. Again, we have no idea who has done this. So this really sets up like the mystery aspect of it. Now, Uncanny X-Men #1 is a pricier book. It's like $7.99 cover price, but there are 4 different stories in here, so it's a rather large book. Now I'm going to skip the rest of the stories because they're just like side stories about the other characters, and I really had no interest in them. This one here, really good. Now the one thing I do want to show, though, is way in the back of this book, they have a cover gallery, which is really awesome. So we get to see all the cool covers that were out. So here we go. Order of appearance. I guess this is the standard director's cut extras. Woohoo! Cover gallery. Look at this. Pachow. Beautiful. Some of these covers are absolutely amazing. I mean, look at that. God, that's beautiful. Now you see why I skipped the other 3 stories, because I want to spend the time on this. And we have our Rob Liefeld cover. He actually showed this off on Instagram and on Facebook previously, so we knew this one was coming. Good old Scotty Young over here. A lot of people dig his little baby characters. I am not one of those persons, but, you know, I can appreciate somebody who does. This was a really cool cover. I have no idea who did this. Oh, this is Joe Quesada. Of course it is. Look at this. And apparently there were 2 different variations of this. We had the standard, and then there was a black and white cover as well. And man, you just got to appreciate that black and white work. This is really cool. This one over here I really enjoyed, because this is Scott Williams. Now, a lot of people probably know him as being Jim Lee's anchor for the last bajillion years, and here he is just showing off his own artwork prowess. The guy is a great artist in his own right. I follow him on Instagram, and he's always showing commission works that he does, and he does some beautiful work. I mean, look at this. Just gorgeous. Guy is definitely more than an anchor. And, wow, you know, you got to have this amazing David Finch. And look at that. Just look at the amount of detail David Finch puts into his work there. Just beautiful. Over on this side, we have a good old Jim Chung. Really, really digging his artwork. And it's strange. It's like as time goes on, Jim Chung's artwork is slowly turning into like Chris Pacello's, which is kind of awesome. It's really neat to see some of these artists and how their artwork evolves. Look at Steve McNiven. I mean, his work is almost indistinguishable from Barry Windsor Smith recently. This is beautiful. This is a David Cockrum piece from 1976. Look at that. Just gorgeous remastered artwork. And then I believe they also did a black and white of that. Look at that. Just beautiful. I mean, really, this guy with Chris Claremont just revamped the X-Men. So, amazing, amazing work. And then we have this giant one here. I'm not sure if this came out as a gatefold or what, but, wow, beautiful. So, that is our Uncanny X-Men #1. And, you know, like I said, I would give it a thumbs up. It was a good story. Really started out slow, but then it kind of picked up building the mystery, so I want to see where it goes. And then next up, from Dark Horse Comics, we have Dr. Horrible, Best Friends Forever. Now, if you have not watched Joss Whedon's Dr. Horrible sing-along blog, it is probably one of the greatest things ever put to film in the history of ever. It's so much fun. I had to grab this. I'm a huge, huge, huge Joss Whedon fan. Love everything this man has done. This is a great story. So we start off with Dr. Horrible and Captain Hammer as best friends in the world. I mean, and it has all the crass humor, and it's so wrong. I love this story. So, Captain Hammer, Dr. Horrible, best friends, hanging out. Dr. Horrible has agreed not to commit crimes in front of Captain Hammer. Captain Hammer has agreed not to beat up criminals in his presence, so they are getting along. So they end up back at Dr. Horrible's secret lair, and here is Hourglass, who is another villain who can actually see through time, and she's here asking for help. Apparently the time worms are coming after her because they have some transgression against her. So there they are, battling time worms. And they're also trying to figure out how to save Penny using the power of the ring, but they figure out they can't. Like I said, this book was just fun. There really is not much else to it. He ends up in this weird little dream state talking to Penny, and they realized that he created this little contraption that makes people who hate each other people who like each other. So it's one of his experiments that's completely backfired, and it has failed, and he smashes it. They become enemies again. And like I said, it was just fun. There really is nothing much more to this. And I love the artwork. The artwork is a little on the cartoony side, but it totally fits with the feel because this thing is very larger than life when you watch it or read it. So if you're a Joss Whedon fan, anything Joss Whedon has done, I would definitely recommend you pick this up because, like I said, it's just big. And if you've never seen Dr. Horrible, I would recommend grabbing that and watching it, and then coming back and reading this afterward, because like I said, it's just fun. And then next up from DC Comics, Electric Warriors #1, Let the Galactic Games Begin. Now this is a book I spotlighted, I don't know, a few months back when I first saw it in the previous guide. It sounded really interesting. So what we have here is we have the Earth after the Great Disaster. And I guess the world kind of blew itself up, and there was a animal uprising where the animals were now able to become, it's almost like a Planet of the Apes, where they started to become sentient and actually have higher thinking and, you know, being able to stand upright. All of them, not just a few select animals, like every animal on the planet. And it led to kind of like man being exiled. Here we have, you know, wild humans in a reserve, which was kind of interesting. Like I said, it had a very Planet of the Apes sort of feel to it. And then we come to our main character here. He's supposed to be Oscar Navarro, but it turns out he's being mistaken for his brother. This is actually Ian Navarro. Now, what happens is to keep the peace throughout the universe, these different planets throughout the universe send a champion to a world where they battle each other. And then, of course, you know, winner takes all sort of thing, instead of having these giant intergalactic conflicts. And the Earth usually sends a champion who is endowed with the electric seed. And the electric seed will transform them into a hero of great power. Usually they pick one, and this time they end up picking two. So we have this character here who is from the Octopus clan. And what is this person's name? Her name is Kana. And Kana was chosen to be a warrior. And here we have good old Ian heading home to confront his mother and his brother, because his brother was also chosen to be a champion. His brother is Oscar, and he tells his brother he doesn't want him to do it because this is not, you're not going to be a hero. This is a death sentence. And they're actually showing how some of these heroes, they just end up dying on this planet. That's why they go there. If I'm not mistaken, it's called like Martyr World or something. Weird stuff. So, we get here to the shores of the Feathered Coast with Kana coming out of the ocean. And here is where they are, Kana and Ian are both being endowed with the electric seed to become their chosen champions. They're going through, they call it electrogenesis, which is kind of cool. And here they are now. She becomes a hero named Deep Dweller, and he becomes a hero named Warcry, both from Earth, heading off to the planet. Now, the Earth Federation endows him with their most prized possession in the entire world, the Shroud of Kal-El. Yes, this is a historical relic in this time and place now. It is the Cape of Superman that they give this kid, which, wow, it really just kind of gave me goosebumps when I saw that. It was so neat. So here they are flying off into their world, and you come to realize that it is Oscar inside. He actually had his brother beaten up and drug away and withheld, so that way he can sneak off, so this way his brother doesn't get killed. And he actually says that he doesn't want his mom to lose the good son, so he's going to go in his place, and he's deciding he's going to go and die. Really, really interesting stuff. Now, the last thing that we're talking about here, and I'm not sure how this comes into play, but Firestorm shows up. This probably isn't the Firestorm we know, but this is actually kind of interesting. This was a good story. It was a lot of fun. It kept me going page to page. I really didn't want it to stop. It felt like it was over really fast. And I guess that's actually a good sign when you're reading a good book, right? So, big thumbs up from this one. That's Electric Warriors #1. And next up from Image Comics, we have Infinite Dark issue #2. And this was a book a month ago when I picked this up. I really, really enjoyed this. Look at this. Staring into pure oblivion, it can really damage a person. This was a fun story. So we start off, we're on a space station called the Orpheus. The Orpheus has the last remnants of man in the entire universe. Like, the universe has imploded. There is nothing. It is pure black. That's why they call it Infinite Darkness. You look out, there's no stars. There are no stars. There are no asteroids. There are no planets. There's no nothing. Nothing. It is pure and utter blackness. I think they said the space station was meant to hold like 50,000 people, and they only saved like 2,000 on board. Up until now, it has been relatively quiet. Last issue, we have this is our security chief here, security director. Her name is Deva Carell, investigating a murder and then apparently a suicide that took them to the dark sector of their space station. Now, the dark sector of the space station is an area, because like I said, this place was meant to house tens of thousands of people, but it does less than that, so they shut off portions of it, and those portions they call the dark sector, where there's no one there. And the dark, while she was there, she saw something in the blackness, a weird creature or shadow man. And here she is talking about it to a psychologist. And she kind of sees this thing, because it's almost like whatever she sees in her head, she creates in person. So he can kind of see it too. So he's freaking out. And she's trying to blow it off like this isn't happening, you know, it's just something. And he's like, I've seen it before, but it seems different in the others. And she's like, others? What do you mean others? Fast forward to some people going back to the dark sector. I mean, look at this place. To investigate. This bald woman is the assistant to the last gentleman who killed himself here. And they are going and they're exploring these weird writings that he's supposedly written in blood. No idea really what he saw or why he's doing this. It just seems like almost like space madness, where everybody's just going a little crazy. So finally, she tells this doctor to knock it off and to tell her what is happening. So he ends up taking her. Let's see if I can find it here. Oh, where did I go? No. Oh, and starts showing her other crew members who have looked into this blackness and have gone a little insane. And they've also seen these shadow people, or they've started talking to themselves. And she asks him, what else is he hiding? And he's like, they're not dangerous. They're just patients. So really, really crazy. I don't know what's going on here. The dark sector is now coming to life. This weird bald-headed assistant has rebooted the computer on the space station, so nobody really knows what's happening. The entire thing is going dark. It's running on emergency power. I really, really, really want to know what is going on here, especially with the space station going dark and them seeing these shadow people. Now, it's possible that whatever's out there is going to thrive on the darkness, and that's why this is happening. I love it. So much fun. Here's the cover to issue number 3. And they're showing one of these shadow people in the background here. This really screws with your head. Now, I'm not going to lie. It kind of started out a little slow in the beginning, so you really have to, I mean, the best word to put it is to struggle through it, because it is kind of a hard read, but I think the payoff is going to be totally worth it. And that's Infinite Dark number 2. And coming in from DC Comics, Red Hood Outlaw number 28. I'm loving this series. This Red Hood series has been so good from issue 1 through issue number 28 now. You just cannot go wrong with this. It's an absolutely amazing read. Everybody should be reading this. Put it on your pull list right now. Right now, just stop watching my video. Just go put this on your pull list. You will thank me. Start off here with this weird little sheriff who's being commanded to write down everything he told the Red Hood. No idea who this character is until you go to the next page. And he's a character called Wingman. I was like, okay. And, you know, Scott Lobdell and all his little quirky infinite funniness here. In the old days of comics, we'd call this a subplot, which means we'll be dealing with this guy in a few issues. And that's it. That's the last time we see of Wingman for this entire issue. It's kind of like they're just sort of whetting our appetites for him. So, we have Red Hood in the town of Appleton tracking down the Underlife, which is supposed to be this giant criminal cabal. And they are in charge of all kinds of weird criminal activities, especially drugs, and they're moving all this kind of stuff. And he followed them here, and him and Roy together. But we all know that Roy is now dead. Oh, poor Roy. So we have him just walking around Appleton doing his thing, meeting all the people, eating all the apples because they love apples. And then we got this cute little old couple right here giving him some homemade cider, and then wham! Dude pulls out an AR. And the entire town just goes crazy. Apparently, this entire town is run by the Underlife. And now for the next, I don't know, 10 pages, we just have this giant melee between Red Hood and all of these townspeople. So honestly, this town looked a lot smaller walking in. I love this. Scott Lobdell's humor is always amazing. But they do get the best of him. See, they hit him in the face here with a giant sledge. And how that doesn't take off his face, I don't know. They have him tied up in a barn, where he then meets this crazy Hulk-like creature. But of course, you know, the Red Hood's smart. So he uses this guy and all his dumbness and all his brute strength to free himself. I gotta say, the action in this story was really, really good. I thoroughly enjoyed this. And then, of course, he impales this giant monster. Like I said, he kind of reminds me of the Hulk, which is so weird. But the dude lives, even with this thing stuck through him. And, you know, Red Hood's like, you know what? If it's me or him, it's going to be me. And he rips this thing right out of him. I mean, God, you don't get much morier than that. Or gorier than that, sorry. But then you realize it's just a bunch of wires. So this thing is more robotic than anything else. And next up, we got a pitchfork to the back. And you're thinking, oh no, what is happening? Poor Red Hood. Batwoman shows up. Apparently, she's tracking the Underlife as well and came to the same conclusion that this is kind of the epicenter of this whole shebang. Next issue, Batwoman. Love that. This was a lot of fun. Like I said, this has been a great read, start to finish. Usually when you're going through a run of comic books, there's always a dead issue here or there. Not with this book. This one has just been good all the way through. If you haven't read it yet, just pick up the trades or just start adding it now. Go hunt down back issues. They're actually not very expensive. Huge thumbs up. Also from DC Comics, we have Scooby Apocalypse number 31. This is another one that I always beg people to read. I'm serious, guys. This is so good. I mean, just look at this cover to start with. You got Daphne back here blowing some monster's brains out, and then you have Undead Fred in the front here. Seriously, Undead Fred. And this is a very cool variant cover. I like this. Check it out. You got Velma with a giant like laser chainsaw. Beautiful. I love this. So, like I said, Fred is dead, and he is leading an army of these creatures. He has full cognitive abilities, and he has gone a little bonkers, and he's come back for Daphne. He said he wants his wife. He wants his bride, and he's coming to take her. Scrappy-Doo is fighting tooth and nail, and he actually calls her his friend. The entire time he's talking to someone in his little cybernetic parts that he's had. He just calls the chief. You don't know who this person is yet. Just all-out struggle going on. I love this. Look at the Daphne got this awesome scratch across her face. That's going to be a badass scar. It's going to be so cool. I love that. All right, so and then he starts explaining to her that, yes, he is different, but he still wants the same thing they've wanted this whole time. And he wants peace. And he's talking about how the nanites changed him and how they are this giant collective now, and they talk to each other, and they've actually grown their own sentience and consciousness, and they talk to each other. So cool. Love that. On the other end, we have Shaggy over here because Velma's been acting really weird. She's actually been snapping at people. She hasn't been herself. And it turns out that she's pregnant. Velma's pregnant. Shaggy's the dad. Whoa, awesome. Love it. This isn't the Scooby you guys remember. This is so good. And then, of course, you have Daphne kicking Fred square in the nuts. And I love this, Scrappy. Did you just kick your boyfriend in the nuts? Love that. So she tells him, there's just way too many of them. Way too many. So she knows that Fred won't hurt her, so she tells him to get out of there, make a break for it, get back to the mall, and let them all know what is happening. So he does. He makes a break for it. And he starts talking to the chief, and the chief's like, you know, she is right. Get back to the mall. Warn everyone. I'm coming. And he's like, what do you mean you're coming? And he's bringing his brother with. Quentin and Rufus Dinkley, which are Velma's brothers. So this is going to be interesting. So next up, we have that happening. This has been a lot of fun, people. I'm telling you. You know, I picked up the first issue really just on a whim. It had an awesome Jim Lee variant cover, and I was hooked. That was it. Done. And I tell everybody, grab a single issue. You're going to love it, and it's going to add it to your pull. I know it will. And next up, we have Skyward, number 8 from Image Comics. This book has been a lot of fun. Now, if you remember correctly from the last issue, we ended off with giant carnivorous bugs. So here we got Willa, who is our hero. She has her dad's journal. Now, her dad is the one who shut off gravity on the planet, and he knows how to turn it back on, but he is now dead. She is trying to get to Kansas City to turn it back on, or at least try to figure out how to turn gravity back on. Now we have Barrow Pharmaceuticals, which is actually the farm they're on right now. They were prepared for Zero-G Day. They have their Zero-G farm running. And he does not want gravity turned on, so he is hunting her down to stop her. Like I said, her dad is already gone. And we have Lucas here, who was pretty much raised on this farm. Now, what they didn't realize is that creating these farms created a feeding ground for these giant bugs. A lot of people don't realize that dragonflies are carnivorous. So, of course, they would come after anything smaller than them, which at this time is bugs, or is cows and people. So they have learned how to fight these things. Now, they are put here to try to feed everyone, because you need food on a time like this. So they started figuring out how to hunt the bugs, and now they're feeding people. And I love this. So you're saying I've eaten bugs? He said, I'm saying it's the only thing you've eaten for years. I love that. There's Willa. This is Edison, the other gentleman here in the middle. And Lucas, the sword-wielding bug killer. Love this story. So they are trying to figure out how to get out of this place, because they realize anybody could turn them in at any moment right now if they are recognized, because they are smack dab in the middle of enemy territory. So Willa starts taking apart her dad's journal, trying to figure out his puzzle on how to turn gravity back on. She ends up wandering out and meeting up with Lucas, who starts teaching her, you know, basic combat on how to fight with the swords, and also on how to use the dragonfly wings to get around. They harvest the wings and wear them themselves. Now, the downside is that while they're wearing them, they can't use their hands, because they flap the wings with them. He tells her he needs to fix the world, and of course she laughs, because she's trying to do the same thing. And she asks him if it has anything to do with Kansas City, and he's like, well, how'd you know that? Really, really interesting. So these are the people they were on the train with in the last episode, or last issue, who they helped save. And now they're like, we know who you are. We're not working for Barrow. We need to get you out of here, because they've called Barrow and he is coming. But they get surrounded by the guys, by these sword wielders. But he's like, I don't think you understand. I am the one who called Barrow. He is here right now, but haha, we've got him right here where we want him. This is awesome. Total twist. So this is going to be really cool. Hopefully they get rid of Barrow and just go on this giant adventure to fix gravity. So much fun. And I love this little supplemental in the back where they show you some of the black and white to the full color art. And in the pencil and ink process, where you see the layouts directly to the inked covers. It's really cool. I like this a lot. That was a lot of fun to check that out. So this is another one. Big thumbs up. This was a great reading week for some of these books. They were a lot of fun. So that is Skyward, number 8. Thumbs up from me. And then from IDW, they bring us Star Trek vs. Transformers. Now, I just had to buy this because I'm a huge Transformers fan. And back in the 80s, I watched the Star Trek cartoon, and this is supposed to be a blending of both of those things. So you have the Star Trek cartoon from the 80s, and then you have the original G1 cartoon also from the 80s, and they were combining together. So there was this mining operation that was being attacked by the Decepticons. The Enterprise shows up to help. They find these giant robots who are fighting. They end up blasting Optimus by accident. And they are trying to figure out how to bring him back because they kind of realized he was trying to help. And I love that Spock does a mind meld with Optimus. And you can just see into this whole page right here is beautiful. I love this page. Okay, we have Cybertron in the corner. We have the Ark in the other corner being attacked by the Decepticons. We have Orion Pax right here. Good old Orion Pax. That's Optimus Prime before he became Optimus Prime. And this tells the story on how they crashed on Earth. And it looks like these are panels right out of the cartoon. I believe those are actually stills from the cartoon, which is pure awesomeness. Here they are being rebuilt when they came to Earth. Oh, I remember this. This battle between Optimus and Megatron on a dam. Beautiful. Loved it. So Spock realizes they are actually here to help, and it awakens Optimus again. So cool. Love this. Below the surface of the planet, we have the exact opposite thing going on, where people are not mind melding. And we have Jazz accusing the humans of killing their leader. And the humans, of course, are Captain Kirk and the crew of the Enterprise. So eventually they kind of come to terms when they realize they're not trying to kill each other. And then we have the Decepticons meeting up with the Klingons. Yes, the Klingons showed up on Triptychon, right back here, to form an alliance. And Megatron's like, why on earth would we need to ally with you? What do you know of cloaking? Oh my god, can you imagine cloaked Transformers? No, no, not cloaked Decepticons. No. Alright. Then we have Bumblebee telling their story on how they ended up here. Because you got to realize Star Trek the Star Trek series takes place a long time after the events of the Transformers on Earth. And they explain it this way, where the Transformers were on Earth, they were fighting the Decepticons, and the humans started their own World War III. And it just seemed like everything was going completely wrong. They didn't want to be in the middle of a human war, so the Autobots abandoned it. I mean, look at this. Yeah, you guys recognize that from the Star Trek movies? Sure you do. Alright, so we have the Cybertronians hopping on Fortress Maximus and just taking off. They're done. They leave the planet. Being followed by the Decepticons, and good old Triptychon there. And we almost have a retelling of history where they are blasted out of the sky and end up going into stasis again until they are found one more time. And at this time period, it's the time when the Enterprise is flying around. So that's actually kind of cool the way they explained that. Really, really interesting. After they explain that, we have the Decepticons mounting a full-on attack, and they're with the Klingons and their cloaking technology. Really, really cool stuff. I had a lot of fun with this story. And it was great seeing these characters come back. I mean, you don't catch a lot of the G1 stuff anymore. So this is just so cool. It's like bringing my childhood back. It's so awesome on both counts. So if you're a fan of Star Trek or you're a fan of Transformers, I would definitely recommend grabbing this. It is so good. You know, just for nostalgia's sake, this is so much fun. It's only 2 issues in. Really easy to grab. Definite thumbs up. And the last book for this week, and one of the other, actually this is probably the biggie for me for the week, and this is IDW's issue number 6 of Transformers Unicron. This here ends out the series. Look at this. God, this cover is just beautiful. Look at the amount of detail that went into this thing. It is just insane. So cool. Where last we left our heroes, Unicron had come to Earth. It had systematically traveled through the universe, devouring all of the Cybertronian colonies. Unicron was created by an alien race to be the end-all doomsday device of Cybertronians because they came and colonized their planet and conquered them. So, this is it. This is the big one. This is the end. It has to finish out here. So we have all of our heroes. We have, even Starscream is getting in on this. He wants to save the universe. This book has a ton of big spoilers in it, so really, guys, if you don't want spoilers on this one, make sure you back out. A lot of big ones coming up. All right, so we have Starscream with his entire Seeker group, Thundercracker, Skyward, Starscream flying in. They have the talisman under Thundercracker. This is the thing that can get through Unicron and destroy him. Beautiful. Love it. Other parts of the world, we have... I mean, look at these guys. We have characters from Mask. We have, you know, G1 Transformers. We have Beast Wars Transformers. I mean, look at this beautiful Predaking. Bludgeon and Shockwave are leading an army of Maximals across the planet. I mean, look at this Maximal. This is Optimus Primal, and he's gone bad. And we got Storm Shadow fighting him, and Snake Eyes. I mean, we got G.I. Joe going on here. This is amazing. Beautiful. Rhinox here, turning on Shockwave. Shockwave actually wants to conquer the place, but they're like, no. Alright, so Starscream and his Seekers make it to Unicron. And he actually tells her that I know the talisman can burn its way through Unicron. I figured if it can destroy it, it can burn its way through where we're at. And he grabs this thing and he activates the device and he melts through it. And he said, when I brought this thing out here and I initiated the device, I always knew this would be a one-way trip and it would come down to me. This scene, I did not expect it. It almost brought a tear to my eye and it gave me goosebumps because Starscream sacrifices himself to get through Unicron. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? Starscream just died. I love this. Look at the Starscream. They are all in shock. In shock that Starscream just did this. Amazing. So they are through Unicron now. And we still have dissension among the ranks with the Bludgeon and Shockwave, and Rhinox being commanded to take him out. Really cool stuff going on there. Optimus fighting his way through the Maximals. Man, I hate calling Maximals bad guys, but they really are in this series because, you know, crazy. So here is the talisman dropping into Unicron. I guess the center of Unicron is actually supposed to be a black hole. So with this device falling in, Optimus decides to jump in with it. He's like, it's all or nothing. He has to do this. And he ends up on Antilla. Antilla is the planet that was turned into Unicron to become this Doomsday device. And I guess this was one of the caretakers of the planet or who created Unicron. And he was inside. And he is fighting Optimus now, tooth and nail. Oh, look at this, Skylinks. I love this. The whole rest of this issue is just the various battles throughout. The different combiners coming together. Shockwave activating the Enigma. And the Enigma is I'm not even sure what he's actually doing with this, but I know he's creating other combiners at the same time. But the Enigma... Oh, where am I at? Come back here. Oh, here's Optimus fighting that dude. Well, I can't remember what his name is. But seriously, so cool. Here's good old Soundwave dying. That was another shocker right there. But like I said, this is supposed to be the end of the series, so that's why all of this is happening. Optimus Prime finally realizes, you know, how wrong they were really to colonize these planets and kind of destroy everything. But he becomes at peace with this weird little dude that I really like. And that is when the entire device activates and starts sucking Unicron into it. Like I said, there's supposed to be a black hole in the center of it. It's activated this black hole. Everything is coming in. But Optimus Prime is at the middle of the black hole, and we do not see him again. So we're fairly certain Optimus is dead now. So we have everybody rejoicing, coming back to Earth, doing their various things. I felt like this was a very fitting closure. It was an awesome culmination. Everybody coming together, fighting at one. We end out with Earth now having a sun and a I guess, a dark spot or a black hole in its orbit. And everyone is going to be living here together now and trying to work together. All of the refugees from all the Cybertronian colonies, the remnants are all left on Earth. So everyone is here, and I felt this was great. I had a blast with this series. It was so much fun. It's 6 issues, so if you haven't read it, grab it. Also, I would guarantee there is going to be a trade coming down the line. Very, very fitting end. Extremely happy with this. Now, one of the things I did notice, though, is in the back of this book, they gave us a free digital ash can, because I got this digitally, for robots in disguise. Now, that's not important. What is important is this. To be continued in Transformers Robots in Disguise #1. So I'm assuming, I guess I can safely assume that there is a new Transformer series coming out, even though this whole big universe has ended. It was a lot of fun. Wow, and it was a big book too. How many pages was that? We're looking at 40 pages. This was another one that was a biggie. It was like $7.99 for the book, so totally worth it when it comes out to be that. Now, oh, I forgot to show this. What am I doing? Let's see if I can find it. There was one really cool panel where Optimus was kind of kneeling down before this dude, almost like he was asking for forgiveness. And if I'm not mistaken, that one single panel right here, correct me if I'm wrong, this looks like a homage to this. Transformers Surrender, issue number 71 from the original G1 series. That is just way too of a coincidence when you look at it back and forth. I mean, look at that. After I saw that, I really tried to scour the book to see if I could see any other little type of Easter eggs like this, but I didn't notice anything. But if you guys read this book and noticed something I didn't, make sure you leave me a comment down below. I really want to check all these out. So that was very cool. Huge thumbs up for me on this one. Okay, so quick recap. We have Transformers Unicron number 6. Definite must buy. This book was so much fun. I loved the entire series. The artwork was great, the storytelling was great, and this was an absolutely fitting closure to the series. And the Transformers Star Trek series, this was also a blast. Great for nostalgia's sake, totally fun to read and buy. Skyward number 8, this book is looking good. It's actually very, very good. And if I'm not mistaken, it has been optioned. So, you know, get on the story before you actually watch the movie. Scooby Apocalypse number 31, another one that was absolutely so much fun to read. Great story. Red Hood and the Outlaws number 28. Not a dud story in the entire series. This should be on everyone's pull list. Infinite Dark number 2. Not gonna lie, this was a hard read, but really stick with it. I think there's gonna be a good payout for it. Electric Warriors number 1. Loved it. This was a lot of fun. I cannot wait to see where it goes. Dr. Horrible's Best Friends Forever. I couldn't say no to this. It's Joss Whedon, so I mean, I really don't even need to say more. And the last book this week was Uncanny X-Men number 1. You know, the storyline wasn't bad. It's, you know, I've really been kind of tired of the X-Men stories lately, but this added some intrigue and some mystery that I really want to see what happens. So it was worth reading. Good reboot, or a good restart to the Uncanny series. So, my picks for the week: Transformers Unicron, gotta read it, a lot of fun. And I'm also going to throw Scooby Apocalypse in there. Both amazing, amazing reads for the week. And now my cover for the week is going to be the variant cover for Red Hood and the Outlaw number 28. God, I'm so used to saying Red Hood and the Outlaws. I can't wait for Artemis and Bizarro to come back. Man, the dynamic is awesome. But this is cool too. Red Hood Outlaw number 28. This cover is just plain gorgeous. I mean, look at this thing. That is just beautiful. I love it. All right, people. Those are my picks for the week. These are my opinions. Your mileage may vary. So, if you like what you see and you like this kind of video, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what your favorite books were. And also, you know, if there's books I did not read and you want to tell me about, leave comments for those too. Don't forget to leave me thumbs ups. I love thumbs ups. Do it. Do it. Give me lots of them. I love it. Although there's a couple of you out there to give me thumbs down. You know, if you want to do that too, that's fine. But I want to say thank you to all my current subscribers. You guys are awesome. I love you all. And if you're new to the channel and this is your first review, hit that little CB down in the corner and that bell notification up top. I got lots of good stuff coming out. And like always, guys, thank you for watching and take it easy.